There it is. There it is. That's that sound. That's that sound. All right. You're in the championship rounds with King Amin of Essex, hosted by Jay. This is season 2, round 8, where we talk about boxing news and everything in between. What's going on, bro?
Everything's good, man. We're here at the most triumphant part of the fight, where if you gas, that's your ass. But if you still got wind, you got the will to win.
There you go. There you go. That's what it is, man. So listen, before we even start, promote yourself, let everybody know where they can find you, IG, and on Instagram and all that. Let everybody know, YouTube and all that.
You done with it, know to find Le Champion, King Amin. Find me, King Amin of Essex 1 on Instagram for all your news and notes to championship rounds and everything important that's going on in the world of boxing. Also, check me out on The Boxing Voice, TBV podcast on YouTube, flagship shows, and any other day I can get on there, anything goes. Also, here we are for these championship rounds. Go back and check out season 1. Go back and check out the little gems I've been dropping, and look for everything else exclusive and new I got coming up in the near future, y'all.
All right. That's what's up, bro. So, before we get into the articles, we're going to talk about the Shakur Stevenson versus Jamall Herring fight. A lot of eyes on that fight, October 23rd in Atlanta. So, listen, man, it was a lot of critics, before this fight happened. A lot of people had a lot to say about Shakur in terms of, how he entertains, how exciting the fight was, whether we want to say violent or not, so it was a lot of criticism of, his style before that, regardless of how much he would produce. So what did you think of this fight? What most impressed you about him? And what did you think about, this 10th round TKO?
Definitely a lot of criticism. A lot of people had questions or problems with the stoppage, the fact that it was stopped. You got to get over it. Sometimes, the result is the result. I bet you Jamall Herrington was appreciative of the stoppage. And let me say this first. Of course, there's a bit of bias on my behalf because we don't get this national stage where we got somebody from Newark, New Jersey with that on their trunks. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So the coverage is well-deserved. The criticism, I can't say that it was deserved, but I think a lot of uninformed people had to find out what was the deal. It's a lower weight class. A lot of people don't pay much attention to. His style not being a power puncher. People are bloodthirsty, but all the purists at the conclusion of this fight, the first thing that they and I and a lot of many people compared him to was not Money Mayweather, but Pretty Boy Floyd Mayweather, who's reigned like at 130 pounds when he knocked out champions, rest in peace, warrior Diego Corrales. You know what I'm saying? Right. Power and skill all wrapped into one, that controlled aggression. So I watched the fight. I was actually surprised at how easy it was for him. He was throwing combinations and hitting at will. Herring was trying every old school uncle in the backyard trick he could, and it just wasn't working for him. But it was nice to see that Shakur is skill wise. He is as advertised.
Right. There's no doubt about that. After this win, first of all, I gotta backtrack a little bit, and apologize because listen, anytime we got Essex County, New Jersey, on that stage, in terms of the body of work, we gotta definitely shout out to him. He made 1.7 million and he earned every bit of it. You know what I mean? So my next question to you was you surprised at how humble Herring was after in terms of Instagram and everything? Obviously he was, projecting himself as a warrior in the ring. But, I don't really think at the end of the day he disputed, who came out of that, the victor. So were you surprised by that? And does that say anything about his character? Or what'd you think?
Jamall Herring is a high character individual from the beginning. We talked about it before this fight, the difference in maturity and just situation, perspective, and circumstance. Jamall Herring is a father. He got kids, former Marine, 35 years old. He's coming into this approaching boxing differently, as a second career, more so to Shakur, as a prodigy. and grew up a fighter all his life. You know what I'm saying? He ain't had no summer jobs, being a camp counselor like us. You know what I'm saying? Like he was just a fighter all his life. You get what I'm saying? So my thing was, I knew Herring wasn't, he was going to try to show dog, but he's not like a mean or nasty dude. So even though people didn't like Shakur's energy in certain aspects, maybe it was mind games, you know what I'm saying? But Herring did not surprise me. He's an A1 classy individual, man.
Well, listen, I was just asking your opinion because, listen, Shakur Stevenson clearly dominated this fight. He landed almost 2 times as many punches, 2 times as many power shots. So it's not really a question about that. Anybody who had eyes, I think ESPN scored a shutout, a 90-81. I don't know, technically if that's, but that's, what I mean. That's domination. So, just wanted to know your opinion on that, So what do you think is next for Shakur? And kind of with that in mind, we can kind of talk about, the Chris Colbert kind of, I don't want to call it controversy, but you know what I mean, like kind of the back and forth. So what did you think about that in general? And what do you think is next?
First of all, I would say just because it's unfinished business, and I think a little differently. When I'm on a TBV, they say, "Oh, you're the philosopher of the show." You know what I mean? So I guess I'll reach my philosophical bag. I feel like there's too much unfinished business with Oscar Valdez. I feel like if you're going to stay at Top Rank, it's a weird analogy, but if you're going to stay with a chick that's going to cheat on you, you gotta at least let dude, you gotta whoop his ass one time to let him know, I know you digging it out, I just don't care. What I mean by that is Top Rank has been giving Oscar Valdez preferential treatment, ducking him around, ducking these boys around, ducking Navarrete around instead of giving Shakur that shot, giving Shakur these, these fights that don't present him in the best light as far as a marketable star, right? So now I feel like, you've been ducking Oscar on me. I gotta whoop his ass. If I stay here, everybody gotta know I can whoop his ass, though. You get what I'm trying to say? So
I can dig it.
That's that. There are some other great fights that could happen for the sake and for the sport of boxing. People like the Lomachenko fight. I feel like, it's a great fight skill-wise, but it don't do much for Shakur. They're gonna say, but Lomo came down from 135. He was tiny at 135 anyway. So that'd be a fair fight skill-wise. 2 southpaws, fucking geniuses, a chess match. Bobby Fischer versus the Russian guy. You get what I'm trying to say? So that's a good fight. Gary Russell, let me tell you something. Gary Russell, he fought God knows when, but he like the Black Fonz. All he do is talk shit and play the schoolyard bully. He loved telling old school stories, me and Terrence Crawford, whoop, 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 whoop. But he ain't fighting nobody. I call him alligator arms. And he a DC cat from DMV, so he call everybody, shorty, man.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So that's a good fight. DC, that element, that urban grit, nice fight. No animosity, just toughness, right? So it's some good fights. But then you go into this Chris Colbert thing. That's a great fight as well. Now, here's the thing. People laugh at me, and it's not me being a hipster, but Chris Colbert's got to get through Roger Gutierrez. You can't really play with these Argentinian motherfuckers, man. Going from back in the days, I can't name too many of them, but I remember Marvin Hagler, one of his most notable nemesis was an Argentinian. Then you talk about modern day, Marcos Maidana. Look, he walked into millions giving Floyd Mayweather a tough time. Lucas the Machine Matisse was, flooring motherfuckers till Danny Garcia gave him his issue. This guy that just Brian Castano that fought to a draw with Jamel Charlo. So listen, man, these Argentinians have a history in this sport. So motherfuckers can say what they want. Call him Baby B-Hop. I like Chris Colbert. He be on this Brooklyn bullshit. But when it comes to Shakur Stevenson, he's not there yet. He's not there yet. Shakur is there yet. He's not there yet. And he better focus on Roger Gutierrez first.
Right. Can't be looking past nobody.
You never.
All right. So moving right along, we're going to talk about, boxing and entertainment always, overlap. So this is from ESPN, I believe. Jay Prince, brought Floyd Mayweather, Andre Ward, and Shakur Stevenson to boxing glory. So how do you feel about that in general? Let's start off with just what do you think about the impact of Jay Prince on boxing, being that, you can't really doubt, no matter how anybody feels about him, you can't really doubt his impact, right? Because in terms of he has managed champions, Andre Ward, Shakur Stevenson, his early affiliations with Floyd Mayweather. So no matter what you think of him, he's there, and we know what he's done in terms of hip hop. It's legendary. So, what do you think about the impact on boxing? Let's start there.
Well, so that is the reason why I wanted to kind of just go over this article, just in terms of the context of it, more so than the content, is that, we're talking about the fight from last week. We're talking about where does he go from here, then you got this, the spice this week in the media between him and Chris Colbert, and I ask myself, it's rhetorical because I'm hoping the answer is yes, but is this the path to stardom? Is he doing all the right things? Showing that he's got a different side to him. Yeah, he can be humble, but he could be a little nasty too, because he also talk about sportsmanship and humility after a fight. He's the one that took that belt back to Jamall Herring in front of his wife and presented him and said, listen, you're a great champion. I appreciate the opportunity you sharing the ring with me. Boom. You know what I'm saying? So, thugs need love too, right? So, he's a kid, man. He's growing up. He's got a child on the way. Congratulations to him. I just hope that he can stay on the right track. I hope that Jay Prince, and the other thing the article said, Jay Prince, they made sure to point out he was a shrewd businessman. So if they don't teach Shakur one thing or another, it'll teach him to take care of his fucking business, because the one thing all those guys also had in common is at a point they had to depart. You had business ties.
I mean, you know what? And that's the part I was thinking about when I was reading it, right? Because they was talking about, it seems like, I don't know Shakur Stevenson's support system. I don't know his family situation, so I ain't trying to act like I do. But it seems like Jay Prince is his manager, but it also seems like he's more than a manager in terms of a mentor, because he's talking about giving him advice about buying like real estate instead of like chains or, or more jewelry or whatever. So when you start moving into that type of relationship, obviously, there's benefits, but you know what I mean? Like, they're clear differentials right now in terms of the power with the mentor and the mentee. Right now, 5-10 years from now, that's why people, part ways sometimes. So I can dig it.
And I want to point out too, to that point, it also, I think it says a lot too in the bigger picture, nothing against or nothing towards Jay Prince, but it also says something more about that Top Rank system.
Right.
Is Top Rank set out, to be the place for the long term? The only person rather that it's been working out for as of late, and you got to ask, has it been working out for him as of late, is Terrence Crawford. You know what I'm saying? So you look at it, you say, yeah, he's got the good mentor in Jay Prince, and need good representation in this game, and he has represented many fighters very well. You know what I'm saying? But I think, again, outside of what he can do, it's like somebody trying to convince you to stay in a bad relationship. You know what I mean? If Top Rank is not going to do right by Shakur Stevenson, I'm not sure how much. And maybe at times the issue had really nothing to do with Jay Prince and the individual fighter. Maybe it was like, yo, it's Top Rank's interest in this relationship that will affect, things moving forward. But without speculating, let's just say it's a part of the business. You know what I'm saying? You got to sign a contract in order to get promoted, and you'd be privileged to have a manager that can guide you, to earn some coin and put you in the spotlight, create other opportunities for you. So, and Jay Prince himself, opened a boxing gym. He himself, boxes. So listen, man, shout out to him.
So he got 15 fighters.
Yo, and it's the thing, he didn't have to get into boxing. He was able and willing to get into something he just loved, and then turn around and is able to make some money off of it. So,
yeah, that's another thing I kind of was reading, is that they said that's one of his passions, though. So I mean, of course, if you can make money from your passion, then you're in heaven. You're halfway there.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're gonna move on to boxing scene. Most people probably heard about this. I don't know whether this is the peanut gallery anymore, or whether, this is the main stage. I don't know what it is anymore, but we're going to talk about Jake Paul again. So Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. Jake Paul's 4-0 now, 3 KOs. Everybody first remember Jake Paul from whooping Nate Robinson's ass. But now you're going to fight. Listen, man, when you become a meme, it is what it is, bro.
Yeah.
He made him famous. You know what I'm saying? As they say, bro. So listen, he's fighting Tommy Fury, who's 7-0, 4 KOs. He's an amateur fighter. He had 12 amateur fights before, in the UK. Trained by Ricky Hatton. I don't know if that means anything to you, but I want to know what you think about this, man, because, as we was talking about, we getting to the point where, Jake Paul is going, maybe 5-0 after this. Jake Problem Child Paul. Who knows if he's 9-0, who we might see him in the ring with. So first of all, do you care about this? Are you interested? And then
Well, all right. It is, the people surrounding this guy and what he does is very smart. So here's the first thing you got to say.
That's right.
Who's going to be on the undercard? Chances are he's just signed Amanda Serrano. Amanda Serrano is going to be on the undercard, right? As women's boxing. Mm-hmm. Big name, right? He may get some good fighters on that undercard. The fight itself, Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul, it is the Ali Frazier of this ilk of boxers. Meaning, you got Tommy Fury. You got Tommy Fury.
You
who
crazy,
is
bro.
the brother.
You really just said that.
He's the brother of Tyson Fury. He's has his experience as a pro boxer. Mm-hmm. Can't say that he's fought anybody, lights out. But one would think he's got pretty good training. He also has a history as a reality television star. That's where he came from, Big Brother, right? Over there in the UK. You know what I mean? So, and look who his big brother is. You get what I'm trying to say? So, that's why I said. So, and then you got Jake Paul, hate him or love him. He's able to create opportunities for so many people. It's like,
you gotta let him in.
Yo, man, he a punk, but he buying everybody ices, man.
Yo, like I told you.
Why would you take his money and he'll buy you something? That make you look like a punk, right?
Right, but bro, and that's what I mean. It's like the same. Listen. Well, you know what? It's not the same analogy, but it's a similar. It's like in rap, right? Pick any rapper that nobody don't like. Everybody say, yo, he can't rap this and that, but then you look on his album, he got all these features, right? Because people are gonna take that money. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, so Little B, not even to cut you off. Little B, the Bass God, featured Core Mega and Tony Yayo on the same song. And most people are gonna say, yo, is that the same Little B? Woo, woo, woo. And I'm gonna say, yeah, that same Little B. So you're gonna hate him and say, oh, he's that Young Thug. And yo, people hated Young Thug. Yo, and remember our conversation off the air. Young Thug and Giggs had a song on a mixtape. Right. Like, you cannot avoid things because you don't like somebody or think you don't like something about them personally. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes their ability just kind of presses the issue and forces you to accept their credibility. It makes them credible. So if this guy is credible for creating opportunities for all these people within the sport of boxing, it's kind of hard, even if you think his boxing is shit, even if you say, half a dozen people that can knock him out, you can't count that some of those guys on those cards and girls are getting paid probably double of their biggest person, anything they've ever done, ever. So
that leads to my next question. So last win against, Tyron Woodley, when, or what is Jake Paul got to do? What do you got to show you for you to call him legitimate? I'm not saying call him the best, but, call him legitimate.
He got to give me some motherfucking money for me to call him legitimate. Holla at me, Jakey. But he truthfully, he probably gonna knock Tommy Fury out.
All right. Well, let me reframe that then. So then we're gonna go back to this question again all the time. Then what's the impact again, yo? because we talked about this, yo. I personally, I thought Tyron Woodley was going in this conversation for us. I hope he did. You know what I'm saying? But he didn't. He couldn't do it. You know. I talked to you off the air about what other people have told me. Closer to the sport.
Yeah.
Which made me go back to earlier conversations we had about whether everything we see in front of our eyes is legitimate. But back to this conversation, what is the impact of this? You're 5-0 if he wins.
Continue to put eyes on the sport, continue to make the sport lucrative, you know, and that's pretty much it. That's the only positive impact you can have, because otherwise, as a purist and as a fan, again, you still can't detract from the fights, provided that, okay, put it like this: what's the difference between a Jake Paul fight having an amazing fucking undercard, real boxers, maybe one fighter, one MMA legend and one older fighter, but the rest is like up and comers,
right,
fighters, and then his fight is the main event, versus we're gonna get a fight on Showtime or whatever on pay-per-view, like we already get with Canelo. With fucking Canelo and Plant is the best fight, and we gotta watch a bunch of fucking respect to all fighters. But we gotta watch a bunch of fights that should not be on a fucking undercard of something we're fucking paying for.
Yo, you're absolutely right.
So that's the impact, you know.
And that part of this is probably the genius part, right? That behind the scenes or whatever, they structuring it so that they like, yo, they going into it saying, yo, the boxing purists are gonna say, yo, legitimacy. So how do we get people on our side? Yo, we just gotta bust down the bag.
Yeah,
we got the eyes, bust down the bag. Somebody figured that out to share, you know, to share that. And if you think about it, yo, sometimes, yo, you make somebody's $60,000-$70,000 payday, $150,000 payday. All of a sudden, they advocating for you. You know what I'm saying? Or 200,000 or whatever it is. You know, it's just an analogy, but you know what I mean. You know,
absolutely. That's facts, man.
Yeah, man. So, you know, we'll continue to. I'm sure we'll be here again. You know, either probably be with Logan Paul in a week or two, but you know, we're gonna see how this works out.
Yeah, man.
You know. All right, moving on. Last one for the night, yo. It's a lot of fights in December, bro. You know what I mean? So ESPN was kind of talking about all the fights coming up. So, you know, we got Canelo Alvarez versus Caleb Plant coming up in November, Showtime fight. A lot of bad blood, you know, super middleweight championship fight. What do you think about this one?
Man, again, terrible undercard for the fact that we'd have to pay for it. But the fight of it itself, you know, listen, if Caleb Plant can withstand Canelo's power, he could beat Canelo. But that if is a bigger if than my statement. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know who can withstand that power consistently when he's going to the body and he's landing you flush on the face. You know what I'm saying? That should make you change your fucking religion. So, I mean, again, it's a hell of an if, but, you know, jab. Canelo don't like to jab, and Caleb Plant is clearly the bigger man. Matter of fact, and here's the thing. This is why this is not crazy, and I probably need to say this on a platform where motherfuckers can hear me say they don't think I'm lying, but Kovalev was actually doing good against Canelo with that jab until he got knocked the fuck out. All right, so anybody that knows boxing and remember that fight, like he was doing pretty good. And it was, you know, eventually being worn down. What was it, 11th round? Took him a while, you know what I'm saying? But Kovalev was doing all right. Now, who's the fucking better boxer, Kovalev or Caleb Plant? Caleb Plant, motherfuckers, okay? So don't act like this shit can't happen, you know?
It can happen. We know it can happen.
It's just holding up to that power, man. But the bigger fight is what people they talk about that fight because of the spice, but the bigger fight in the reality is what's going on in the welterweight division. That is Terrence Crawford and Sean Porter, because that fight has more implications as far as, so then what? And I'm even roping it into what's happening this weekend because you got Boots Ennis, Jaron Boots Ennis out of Philly, right?
Right.
North Philly zone. Shout out to his father, Bozy Ennis, his brother, Derek Ennis. He got another brother that was fighter. So this is a guy that, you know, child prodigy, been fighting, probably ain't never had a job but fighting all his life. You know what I'm saying? Grew up in the gym. And he is knocking on the doors of the welterweight division. You got a young blood like Conor Ben over in the UK, knocking on the doors of the welterweight division superstardom.
And what do you think about Teofimo Lopez versus Kambosos? What do you think about that fight?
Yo, I'm glad Kambosos got his justice for Kambosos. Okay. First of all respect to Teofimo and his pops, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes, man, is you again, is this Top Rank? Is this what Top Rank does? Because this fight's been postponed. This shit was supposed to be back since June, bro. This fight was supposed to be back since June. Then Triller ass betting, don't got no fucking money. And all
it feel like we've been talking about it, you know, off and on for a little bit.
And the fight ain't big enough for that. It's a fucking mandatory. This fight ain't fucking big enough to be postponed and all this goddamn talking about. It's so whole. I was gonna say it's not T.O.'s fault, but it's like, bro, decide what you want to do. You want to beg a motherfucker to pay you your value or just do your fucking thing. So yeah, and he thought he lucked up. Yo, I'm gonna go to Triller. Now, thank God for fucking Eduardo Hearn, Eddie Hearn from the UK, Matchroom Boxing. He picked up the fucking fight and is able to pay you know, whatever it is. Probably not at the bullshit rate that Triller lied and said they had. Because how the fuck, look, this is how you know they full of shit. They pay Holyfield $5 million, whatever they paid him, right? Then they give Vitor Belfort to come in the ring and say, yo, yeah, Jake Paul, we got $25 million for you to fight Vitor Belfort. And you can't pay T.O., but you can't pay T.O. 4.5 or 6 or whatever the fuck you promised him since June.
Hell, man. There's different rates for different folks, bro.
But they don't have the money. They don't have the money. How the fuck you pay Holyfield $6 million before you pay T.O. to fight his fight?
That's a good question.
Holyfield, Evander Holyfield. Old ass Evander Holyfield got paid first before the fake undisputed Teofimo Lopez, a young man, got paid because they had a fucking money. They're fucking liars over there. And it's the thing. You can't be getting caught slipping by that. So it's not Teofimo's fault that it happened, but you dealing with Bob Arum, like, yo, man, you got to get your business together. Either stand your ground and deal with him like he dealing with you, or fucking fall in line, you know what I'm saying? And get your shit on, man. But, you know, whatever, yo. That's my strong opinion. Respect to T.O., respect to Kambosos. You know, the fight ain't big enough for all this fucking delay. That's the real fact.
Nah, I hear you. Because it's debatable whether it's even big enough for December. You know what I'm saying? You got time for that. All right, so next we're gonna move on. Devin Haney versus Jojo Lopez. What do you think about that fight? You got interest in that fight or what?
Devin Haney, yeah, because that's in the same division because Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney got smoked with each other. And that needs to be sorted out at 135. 135 is a very popular division. You know, Gervonta Davis be hanging out at 135. You know, so yeah, the 135, yeah, Loma was at 135, little tiny boots. You know, Richard Coleman at 135.
So what do you think about that, you know, about that division? You got Tank Davis, you know, Rolando Romero, you know, also in December. It's going to be packed, man. It's going to be a lot of action.
Yeah, Tank on sleep this fucking goofy.
Oh, all right. So you pretty confident about that. And Loma, we're gonna see Vasyl Lomachenko this in December as well. So what do you think about us seeing about that fight?
Loma's gonna be dancing on that ass. He's gonna put on a nice display. I actually slept on him against Nakatani. I thought he was shot worn. I thought his confidence caused him, you know, to you know, was going to cause him to get chipped up by a fighter that was willing to throw it all away. But that ain't what happened. Loma danced on him and chipped him up pretty good. So I'm expecting Loma. But again, at 135, he really don't have no business there. You know what I'm saying? He's everybody at 135 too big for his ass. But, you know.
I've heard that. That's something that you hear a lot when people talk about him, though. You know what I'm saying? That's interesting that you would say that. So, anything else you want to say? Anything else about the fights in December? Or are you ready to move on?
Yeah, man. Yeah, we can pretty much move on, man. It's so much that
A lot of action, though. It's a lot of action, bro.
Yeah, man. We couldn't really give anything justice, man. But we'll catch it as it occurs, man. But shout out to all the action, and thankfully, a lot of this is pretty accessible. It's not a lot of it'll be on ESPN or Showtime or something. And it's a lot of fights on television. You got a lot of Showtime, Fox Sports fights. So it's a lot of things going on, man.
I'm just wondering when we're gonna get something at the Barclays or the Prudential again. You know?
Yo, it's funny you should say that. There's a fight on Christmas, man. A lot of local fighters, as far as from the Philly, DC, Jersey area, they're fighting at the Prudential Center on December 25th, man. Christmas.
Okay. All right. So moving right along, bro. As we do every week, we're going to, do the ABCs. We've been focused on the historical kind of boxes this year. So you picked George Foreman this week, bro. You know what I'm saying? So George Foreman, a lot of people, well, not outside, a lot of people outside of this channel only gonna know him for grills. You know what I mean? But we talking about a boxing heavyweight, a legend. So just give a little bit of the background, and some notable opponents. You know what I mean?
Well, George Foreman, first of all, George Foreman had like 3 lifetimes. He's like the Forrest Gump of boxing in that his span within the sport is like 30 years fighting. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He had some lapses, but he's been in the ring fighting for a long period of time. Shout out to Houston, Texas. He's a Fifth Ward boy. So we talking about Jay Prince, Shakur moved out to Houston. So we're going to give it up to Houston and talk about Big George Foreman, all right? Happen to name all his kids George, even the females, by the way.
I didn't know that.
He, of course, Frazier. Of course, he fought Ali. And if we fought Ken Norton as well. I mean, he fought all the big, tough guys back in the day. But one thing about him, again, he lost to Ali. He beat Joe Frazier. When he stepped away from boxing, had some legal issues, street guy, boxing saves lives. He came back like at 44 years old. At 44 years old, he came back.
I remember that, bro.
And won the heavyweight chain. Now, George Foreman was already, I think at some point he was an Olympic, what do they call him? Like a standby, I guess. You make the team, but you don't make the trials. I don't know what his situation was, but power. He was known for his power and the cross guard. Always throwing that cross guard, right? Or his parry was real, just a paw. But when he was young, he was fast with it, very strong, very fast, kind of just a thumper. But when he got older, he was very slow, deliberate jab, and just a 1-2 cross guard or parry, and just boom, 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 boom. And at 44 years old, he knocked out Michael Moore. I think he won a WBA title or something, man. But it was just, so that was just the second half of his career. I think he might have defended it once or twice. Hell if I know, but it was just an amazing feat to accomplish it. Then after that, right? Whatever happened, I think he retired at 46, 47 years old. He had that run from 44 to 47 years of age. Then he turned around and invent the motherfucking, or whether he invented it or not, whatever he got to do with it, he got fucking bread off the George Foreman grill. So whatever you want to be in the comments, he didn't invent it. Who gives a fuck? You ain't got no fucking grill. And I bet you ate off the shit, sucker. So here we are. Boxing saves lives and creates so many other opportunities, man. What do I want from George Foreman? Bruh, his resiliency. Because that
you ain't even gonna wait for me to ask you. I gotta ask you a question first.
Go ahead then, brother.
So like I always ask you every week. So if you're building a video game boxer and you could take any part of his game, what would you take?
Resiliency. And I don't even know how or what feature you would put that in the game unless it was a franchise mode, because, you know, sometimes that element is such a long-term manifestation. It's a long-term expression that you couldn't really characterize that to find the will within yourself, you know, to come back with such a gap, you know, in your career. You know what I'm saying? It's something like boxing to where, you know what I'm saying? Then turn around and you know, be it, you know, an entrepreneur in that regard, man. Pretty impressive, man. Pretty impressive. And like you said, there's some people, they only know that name from the grill and vaguely, oh, somebody told me he might.
Oh yeah, bro.
You know what I'm saying?
Making them turkey burgers in Drew Hall. You know, making them chicken thighs in Drew Hall, bro.
You get what I'm saying? Like, I lived off the Foreman grill.
All you needed was a Foreman grill and some Old Bay or some adobo, and you good.
Oh, man, you know? Some chicken breasts off that joint, man. You ain't never lived till you had chicken breasts off the Foreman grill for make your Alfredo, chumps.
That's right, yo. All right, yo. So before we get out of here, promote yourself. Let everybody know where they can find you on, you know, TVV and IG.
King Amin of Essex 1 on Instagram. King Amin of Essex 1 right here on YouTube for these championship rounds, and the Boxing Voice TVV podcast on YouTube. Check me out on all flagship shows, Thursdays and Sundays, and any other day that I can. I'm your man to bring you the boxing news and notes. I want you guys to give me a like, leave a comment, you know, ask questions, hit me up, interact. I appreciate all of the patronage, guys. And we'll be back with more championship rounds.
All right, that's right, bro. Keep giving them free game, yo. Till next time, yo. On it.